What's up, everybody? Today is July 12th, 2015. Sunday, July 12th, 2015. And I'm going to be shaving for your pleasure and entertainment. Let's go ahead and, I guess, jump straight away into how it's going down. Today, using a couple of new things. Well, one's not really new. Well, neither of them really are new, but one is a little bit more so I actually meant to use this the other day for the first time. This is a barrister mann solarion. First go with it. Yeah, I mean, it's barrister mann white label. I definitely know what I'm getting into here, and that's going to be a good soap. This is very, I get a lot of citrusness up front. My nose is tripping a little bit. So my sniffer isn't quite up to snuff, but it does smell nice. Looking forward to seeing what that's all about. Secondly, this sink sucks. Thirdly, we're going to be going with a known, proven performer and quite the entity. Laguna Seca Badger wet shaving products, 28mm superfine knots, because it's quite good. And like I mentioned, gonna need to be going with some good performers here. Let me go ahead and start loading this up here. Excuse me. I don't know what's going on in my throat piece, but seems to harbor a lot of mucus. I'm even going to go ahead and turn this off. There's really no need for all that. Sorry, guys. Get a good load on this mug. Yeah, that's really nice. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, let's put this to the side now that we've got a gang of soap loaded in this. Today's razor is going to be loaded with a feather. And the razor that we're going to be going with today is a Wolfman WR1 OC. But this one actually has had the aggression turned up a little bit by James, the maker of these razors. He accomplishes that by increasing the blade gap, and this is going to be the open comb one, and I hope that this focuses here. But as you can see, there is a little symbol right there that lets me know that this plate is the one that's turned, shall we say. That symbol actually, it was a bit of a stroke of genius. I was talking to James not too long ago, and he was telling me that, you know, it's about time for this razor to be up, blah blah blah. And I asked him, you know, I told him that I wanted to put some sort of marking on it so that I'd be able to tell it apart from the regular WR1 OC, which of course, as per usual, is out on loan right now, but it's going to be coming home soon, and I cannot wait. So I was driving, excuse me, I was driving when I was, you know, talking to him about that, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. I looked down on the dash, and there it was. That symbol, excuse me, is the one that my car displays when all the driver assistance systems are disengaged. My car has like 2 stages of driver assistance. One is DTC, dynamic. Actually, the first stage is dynamic stability control, DSC. And once you press the button one time, it disengages the DTC. And if you press it a second time, it disengages the DSC. DTC is dynamic traction control. I think I mentioned that. Don't remember if I did or not. DSC excuse me, is dynamic stability control. DSC will let the car slide around for a little bit, let the back wheels brake traction and all that, but it won't let you get too terribly crazy. From what I understand, the manufacturer says that it's pretty much like a differential, a locking differential, excuse me, or an open differential, sorry. Although my car doesn't have, you know, it doesn't have one of those. Although it would be fun. So yeah. And then once you press the button again, it gives you the DTC. It disengages the DTC, which is the dynamic traction control, which then gives you that little symbol that's on the inside of that razor. And that's to let you know that you're on your own. And if you have to get the back wheels behind the front ones, then that's your responsibility and not the car's. All right. This brush, man. Again, this was turned by Reddit user The Goddamn Train, who appears to be quite busy with requests for brush handles, which is very nice to see. Happy for you, D. All right. Let's go ahead and see what this this MK2 version of this razor is all about, shall we? Excuse me. I don't know what's wrong with my throat. It's tripping hard. All right, here we go. Pass 1 feather blade with the now here's the thing. When I was talking to him, he asked me what kind of blade gap I wanted on this razor. Woo! Jiminy! Yo, that's nice. He asked me, you know, what kind of blade gap I wanted on this, and I know that there was, you know, a lot of the guys that had this modification made, they all went with a pretty standard blade gap figure, which was it increased it to 0.74 millimeters. Wow. This definitely, okay, now here's the thing, and this is what I need to get this out before talking or bringing up what I wanted to. He had mentioned that by his calculations, an increase in the blade gap does give you a bit more blade exposure. And what I mean by blade exposure is not how much blade is peeking out under the top cap of the razor, but there's an imaginary line, and if you give me 1 second, actually, I'll just use one of these razors down here. There's an imaginary line, okay, between, or excuse me, there's an imaginary line that connects this top cap and where the comb actually meets your face. Any blade that is exposed past that line, that's what's really referred to as blade exposure. You know, a lot of people are mislabeling, you know, whatever blade is peeking from under the top cap like that, like, you know, along here and here. A lot of people call that blade exposure, but that's not blade exposure. If anything, I mean, you can call that blade reveal, I guess. That's a more accurate term for it. But every increase, when you increase the blade gap, that also increases the blade exposure. So this does have a touch more blade exposure because the regular Wolfman is very neutral as far as blade exposure is concerned. So I can definitely feel this blade on the skin more. Got a little bit of cuttiness right here. That sucks. Yeah, it's definitely, I can definitely feel more blade on the skin, but it's not anything savage. like a 2013 R41, and I've seen macro photographs of that new Icon thing that is just silly blade exposure. I don't know why anybody would want that. Whatever. It's not my bag, but I guess I can understand why people would want that if they want a super efficient, super efficient razor. Something tells me you can probably do like 2 passes with the grain on that razor and you would be good to go. Definitely do need to slow down with this one a little bit, which I wasn't doing earlier. Something about these razors though, I remember my very first go with the regular WR10C, and I got myself pretty nice on the back of my head. So, I mean, first time using a razor, if you don't cut yourself, then if you don't cut yourself, then you're weird. Or you just haven't been doing it long enough, which is probably my case. So anyway, go ahead and talk about these fights last night. UFC 188, I think it was last night. It was a big event. And I tried to go watch them. You know, I'm not able to order a pay-per-view here where I'm staying currently. Even if I could, I wouldn't anyway because I don't own a television. These televisions are bad for you kids. Wow, that's good. That's really, really good, actually. It's really good. So I tried to watch the fights last night in public. I went to, here in this little ridiculous, swollen college town of Knoxville, Tennessee, there is 1 Buffalo Wild Wings and 3 Hooters. So, I went by the 1 Buffalo Wild Wings, no seats. I went to 2 Hooters, 2 of the 3 Hooters in the city. The village, I should say, is more what this place is. Nothing. No seats. So, I ended up coming back here, finding a stream, and watching most of the event. This feels good. Generally speaking, when talking about combat sports, boxing, mixed martial arts, that sort of thing, if there's more than 1 title fight on the bill, then the heavier weight, or excuse me, the title fight contested at the higher weight is going to get top billing over the one with the smaller guys. It's just the way it is, generally speaking. But this time, on this card, there were 2 title fights. There was one at 170 pounds, which is welterweight. And one at 145 pounds, which is featherweight. The welterweight fight was between the challenger, Rory McDonald, founding out of Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and Robbie Lawler, who is an American top team product currently, fighting out of Coconut Creek, Florida. That was an incredible fight. The fight actually was a rematch because they had fought once before. Robbie Lawler won the first contest. It was scheduled for 3 rounds, and Robbie Lawler won a split decision, 2 rounds to 3, because they used the 10-point must scoring system in mixed martial arts, just like boxing, where the winner of the round gets 10 points and the other person gets 9 or less, depending on how well they did in that fight. And then if there's any fouls in the round that dictate that there's any points to be taken, once the winner and loser of the round is determined, that is when they take the points. And that's not a spoiler for this fight because there were no fouls. Nobody had any points taken from them. It was a great fight. Lawler was the underdog heading into this fight, the betting underdog. And when he fought McDonald the first go-round, he was the underdog as well. Nothing new for Mr. Lawler when facing McDonald. You know, again, he's used to being the underdog against that kid. Like I said, it was an incredible fight. It's actually one of the hardest fights to watch that I've ever seen. Those dudes, man, they went at it. They really put it to each other. Lawler is very old school in his approach to fighting. He's not a point fighter. He doesn't try to steal rounds and win by points. He wants to finish you. Whereas McDonald is one of these new kids that kind of does want to steal rounds and gain points and win by decision rather than by finish, even though he'll tell you he wants to finish people. His coach, the head coach at his camp, his name is Firas Zahabi. This is the same camp that George St. Pierre used to fight out of when he was active, if you've ever heard of that guy. Yeah, that guy, Firas, the head coach of TriStar, he's very much a point fighting type of, game planner. So yeah, the first round, I personally had it as a draw. Neither guy really did much of anything. It was more of a feeling out period than anything. They were just, gauging each other's tendencies, what they wanted to do if they thought they were going to get struck, what happens when they're going for takedowns, etc., blah, blah, blah. So they were just feeling each other out to see, what adjustments they would need to make to their game plan to proceed with the fight. Second round, Lawler really got after it, and he absolutely won that round, and he broke McDonald's nose at some point in that round. He hit him, and man, his nose just started spewing instantly. So he won that round, and then the third round, McDonald won. He had the most meaningful flurry in the fight. Actually, you know what? Let me do this. Yeah. So he had the most meaningful flurry. Hold on, excuse me. He had the most meaningful flurry in that round, and I think he came reasonably close to finishing Lawler, and I'll give that round to McDonald. That was the third round. The fourth round was pretty close, but I gave it to McDonald, or excuse me, to Lawler. And at the end of that round, they actually kind of had like a mini stare down at the end of the round, and it was pretty intense. They were both, you know, bloody, and I mean, you could tell they'd been fighting for quite some time. And then 1 minute into the fifth round, Robbie Lawler hit McDonald with a straight, I think it was a left, because he's a southpaw, so he hit him with a good power punch, and it was like a left straight, and McDonald folded. Lawler pretty much ended his nose right then and there. It was broken in the second, but it was shattered as a result of that punch. And there was some footage of McDonald being tended to by the doctor after the fight. And man, you could tell that dude was in some serious, serious pain. I don't like Rory McDonald too much, but I have a ton of respect for him after that fight. I got myself here, as you guys can probably see. Yeah. But, you know, it was a great fight. If you're a fan of mixed martial arts, it was a great fight. But, honestly, that's one of those fights that I can see, like, people that don't like mixed martial arts, you know, holding that fight up, talking about, oh my God, this is terrible, look at this, these people are savages. Which I can understand, because again, that was probably the most brutal fight I've ever seen. Although Shogun versus Henderson #1 was pretty raw as well. Anyway, so that's it here. My determination on the Wolfman WR1 OC MK2, as I call it. Good razor. I definitely need to learn it a little bit more so I can avoid this sort of thing. But if you're on the list for a Wolfman, definitely wait until you get the thing in hand and use it a couple times to see if you want to send it back to James to have the aggression, adjusted on it. Anyway, that's it. Hope you guys have been well. I hope you guys will be well until the next time I see you. Until then, peace everybody.